Could you just give us an example of the type of cross-partnership working that you would expect that we could then sort of get our heads around and a better idea of the sort of thing that could get funding? Thank you.
I think it's working.
Yes, thank you for your question. Of course, it's a very difficult question, and as I understand, it's a very general theme that the project could be. And I would like to ask if you have a more special theme that the project could be stated as an example.
I'm just trying to think as our county council that your programme talked of being across many levels of democracy, and I'm trying to think. Initially, I can think of several programmes that would include just Norfolk County Council, and really one's thinking more for regional. And you're saying it's for the North Sea region, although we can go inwards. And I'm just trying to think of the sort of programmes that might be funded, and perhaps something like free parking, not parking, travel passes, perhaps for buses is something that could be used, and then for buying these online, because one's got to get the internet involved as well. And it was just difficult for me initially to try and think of how one could use it simply.
Yes, thank you. As I understand, the activity you just mentioned would be just one part of our transnational cooperation project, because we are looking forward to very extensive project, and the project ideas that could not be implemented independently by the project. As, for example, your project idea could be easily implemented by one or a couple of regions, meaning that probably it's another program that would target your project idea much better than ours. As Interreg program has different strands, for example, strand A that mainly works with the cooperation in between the regions.
Okay, thanks, Jenny. Steve, did you want to ask a question?
Thank you. Hi, I'm Steve Hilton from Bristol. I have a question for Arnu about your petition that had 120,000 signatures that I think you said the government discounted because it was an electronic petition rather than a paper petition. In England, there's been a central government petition Downing Street site, and one particular petition attracted several million signatures. And it was really interesting to watch how the government responded to that over a period of time. I think there was an initial response which was to deny the fact that there was this mass public outcry, and then perhaps over the following weeks there was a bit of a softening, and in the end it was acknowledged and the policy was changed. Was there any sort of response or outcry from the petitioners that their views had been ignored?
To my knowledge, there was only in the media some discussion on neglecting the petition, and I haven't read any reaction by the initiatives, by the petitioner people at this moment. It just happened very recently, so.
Okay. Yes.
A question for Mary. I'm Tom Gaskin, project coordinator of Norfolk Blurb. I just wanted, first of all, to thank you for your kind words about the project. I'm interested in how we encourage more councillors and colleagues to embrace the world of Facebook, following sort of the bad press about social networking sites, the Bridgend tragedies, and the media perception of how that was fueling those suicides. And I think that's had a big impact on how professionals view those sort of sites, and so I'm interested in how we can encourage more councillors to embrace that one. I was interested in your words about that.
Well, given that it is a social networking site, it's in the network, isn't it? So I think it's one councillor encouraging another. In Kingston, we've got far more councillors on Facebook than we have actually doing blogs. It's less threatening, isn't it? And you're under no obligation to perform all the time as you are with running a blog. So I think that's where the power is, in that network. I also think the political parties have a role to play. They all have a presence on Facebook, and they're encouraging people to use it extensively, setting up campaigning groups on there. And I think probably people have realised, seeing my involvement in it, the age profile has certainly changed from the initial profile, which was young people. Of course, all young people are on it, certainly university population, but there's an increasing representation across all the age groups, and a whole life on it, which has got nothing to do with student life as well. And I think that perception is getting across. To be honest, I was trying to think what you were talking about just now, about the Bridgend. No, I know the tragedy you're talking about, but to be honest, that hadn't had an impact on me, and I haven't seen that discussed amongst people. So maybe it has quite a localised impact and not a more general one that you imagine.
It was an issue that was discussed at the last symposium, International E-Participation Symposium earlier this year.
Yes.
I think from discussion there, I chaired a session around this, the perception of social networking and where we take it forward. And I think that particularly on young people as well, in terms of how their parents as well, so as adults reading the news, and I believe there was a big thing around highlighting pages on sites like Bebo, and saying, this page is highlighting, committing suicide online and making these packs. And I do think that sort of scared a few people and discouraged people from using those sites.
Yeah, but any social networking context is a world in itself, and it is multifarious as the real world. So things which are maybe having an impact somewhere are not elsewhere. What I mean is you create your own world in that, which reflects your interests and concerns. And I think it's been quite exciting the way that politicians are beginning to understand how it can work for them in the communications, which are much more informal communications with their electorate.
Thank you, Tom. I think the gentleman behind you was going to ask a question as well.